Hi, I'm Dave Bichon, the superintendent for the Townsend Water Department, and I just want to give you an update on the PFAS treatment project and where we're standing on it. The first thing is there's new regulations have come out. Mass DEP has established maximum containment level of 20 parts per trillion on the sum of 6 PFAS components. As of 10 April 24, this is now changed. The new EPA guidelines bring those numbers down to 4 in P4, PFOS, PFNA to 10, and others to much lower numbers. The final rule requires that public water systems must monitor for these PFAS components and have 3 years to complete initial monitoring by 2027. Following the ongoing compliance monitoring, water systems must also provide public with information on the levels of PFAS compounds in their drinking water. Townsend has already completed this. If monitoring shows that the drinking water levels exceed the MCLs for public water system, the public water systems have 5 years by 2029 to implement solutions to reduce PFAS compounds. Beginning in 5 years, public water systems that have PFAS in drinking water, which violate one or more of these MCLs, must take action to reduce these compounds in their drinking water and must provide notification for the public of this violation. Townsend will be 100% compliance in November 24. What is PFAS? What is bad about it, and where does it come from? PFAS stands for polyfluoroalkyl substances, in a group of over 4,000 chemicals widely used in consumer products from around the world since the 1950s. Some PFAS are very effective in resisting heat, stains, grease, water, and making them useful chemicals for the range of applications, including stain and water protection for carpet, fabric, furniture, apparel, personal care products, including makeup, food containers, paper coatings, Plus, their widespread use and their persistent in the environment. Many PFAS are found in the blood of people and animals all over the world and are present in low levels in food products and in the environment. Can you find PFAS in your bottled water in foods? Yes. Currently, companies are not required to test for PFAS, and some have been found to contain high levels of these upon testing. I have a private well. I do not have had PFAS. Wrong. There's a good chance, if you have a septic system with your private well, that you have PFAS in your private well. And if you visit pfascentral.org, you can find the companies that have no PFAS in their products. What are the risks of elevated levels of PFAS? High cholesterol levels, developmental effects on delays of children, changes in the immune system, thyroid problems, a high chance of kidney, prostate, and testicular cancer, increased blood pressure during pregnancy, decreased vaccine response in children, and liver enzyme changes. The next one is a diagram on packaging. How it gets into your packaging will get into your food chains. It gets thrown away in your landfills, in the compost, into the crops, into the environment, and into you, and then back through your septic system and back in the environment. That little, for food packaging, that little shiny coating on the inside of your food container, paper, can, box, bags, more than likely is PFAS, up to 400 parts per million. The EPA regulations are 4 parts per trillion for these substances. What is the difference? For parts to millions to billion, 1,000 times. What's the difference between 1 part per billion and there are 1,000 times as many in a trillion? That makes 1 million times. And if you add the go from 4 to 400, that little coating that you have on your food products that is touching your food and going into landfills is 100 million times more concentrated than what's allowed in your water. The PFAS that you get in the town wells or your private wells come from landfills, septic systems, runoff from pesticides and fertilizers, and for firefighter foams. Where does the PFAS come from in Townsend? The number one source is septic systems. Other sources have been detected are the Old Town Dump and an unknown source of firefighting foam. Things that can be found in the water are some of the following, but not limited to: nitrates, PFOA, PFAS, fertilizer, pharmaceuticals, wood preservatives, and disinfectant. The new filtration plant will take care of all of these. Townsend Water Department, the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Water Commission have proactively done the following. We shut down Harbor Trace well in August of 2021. The well will not be turned back till the treatment plant goes online in November 24. We rehabbed the Cross Street well. The well has been off since 2015 due to high iron and manganese caused by beaver dam flooding. The beaver dams were removed and the iron and manganese levels dropped. We've installed a new well at 512 Main Street. There's now 800 feet further back from the road and can produce 860,000 gallons of water per day. PFAS levels, which are undetectable now, were at 2 parts per million in the old well field, and that took care of that problem in that well. Additional steps we've taken. We planned, funded, and started construction of the Harbor Trace treatment plant, which opens in 7 months, November 24. We've expanded the water system up by 4 miles, making water available for homeowners with wells on South Harbor Road, South Row, Old Meeting House, and Emery. Looping the water main from Timberley Park to Emery Road and to Emery Road promotes water quality. We started planning the process, bringing water to Lunenburg Road area, which has about 1,200 residents. The water department has several complaints from private wells of drying up in that area alone. We started the planning process to expand the water system if and when PFAS is discovered in any private wells in a given area. State legislation is in the process to require PFAS samples from private wells in order to sell their homes. What is being done today? The treatment plant is being built at 25 Harbor Trace Road. The Harbor Trace well, which PFAS was 120, we're bringing in the following wells. Harbor Trace well, which was 120 parts per trillion. Witch's Brook well, which was up to 8 parts per trillion. And Witch's Brook well 2, which was 18 parts per million. They were all failed the EPA new limits. Land survey is now being done on Lunenburg Road for the planning of building a tank and booster pump. Extension of the 12-inch water line down Warren Road is also being planned for several hundred feet. There's two pictures of the treatment plant and the filters themselves in the next 2 drawings. So some final thoughts. We are in 2 years of the 5-year Infrastructure Act, which ends in 2027. As of March 2024, only 11 states had PFAS regulations. Only 11 states were building are looking to build PFAS plants. Only 11 states were sharing infrastructure money of $9 billion. As of 10 April 2024, all 50 states now have PFAS regulations. They added $1 billion to the PFAS Infrastructure Act. That's 50 states now sharing $10 billion, where 11 states were sharing $9 billion. Townsend is one of the first towns to utilize the Infrastructure Act, and we're near completion. Towns in Massachusetts who thought they were safe before are now not with the new EPA regulations.
So, Dave, I want to thank you for all the work that you've done. If any resident has questions, where should they?
You can call the water. You can call the water department, and we'll get back to you. I'm happy to talk about it, and hopefully we'll have a nice opening sometime next winter.
Okay, sounds good. So, any questions, they can get in touch with you. Thank you, sir, for your presentation.
Well.
Okay, who's next?
Go ahead.
So, and the camera is right there.
Right.
And you can address in that camera.
Pretty much start anytime.
Yeah, anytime you want, and I'll just keep quiet.
Okay, I'm Michael Brown. I'm a member of the Bylaw Review Committee. And we reviewed a number of bylaws to see whether there were any that would benefit from being updated or possibly ideas for new bylaws. And what I'm going to talk about now is an update to the outdoor lighting bylaw. Outdoor lighting has been regulated in Townsend since at least 1978. In 1997, the town adopted two new bylaws covering private and public lighting that had more specific requirements, but these bylaws have not been updated in 27 years. So the committee found that the bylaws could benefit from greater clarity, increased flexibility, and consideration of recent technological changes. So therefore, we're proposing a revised outdoor lighting bylaw to replace the existing ones. And the revised version would retain the main components of the existing bylaws, but would make them clear and make them easier to implement. So very briefly, I'll just explain the current regulations on outdoor lighting and then how those would be proposed to change. So as stated in the current bylaws, and this would be retained in the new version, the goals are, first of all, to eliminate glare, which really means enhancing safety. Minimize light trespass, meaning try to keep light on a particular property rather than straying onto neighboring properties. Reducing sky glow, which really people often talk about the rural character of the town. And one aspect of that is that we have relatively dark skies compared to locations closer to big cities. And finally, to reduce energy use. One of the characteristics of lighting, if the light is not directed where it's intended to go, then any light that goes elsewhere, like up in the sky or to the neighboring property, is really wasting energy. So those are 4 goals, and that would be still the case in the new version of the bylaws. These goals are accomplished by shielding and aiming lights downward to the area where the light is needed. There are really 2 main specific requirements. First of all, the lights must be fully shielded. Technical term for that would be full cutoff lighting. And secondly, the height of private lighting fixtures is limited to 25 feet, and there are actually lower limits according to a formula near the property line. The current, as well as the new version, the current bylaws apply only to relatively bright lights. That would be any light above 900 lumens for floodlights, and for other types of lights, 1800 lumens, and therefore do not regulate most lighting that would be installed by a typical resident. The bylaw has no limits whatsoever on how many lights can be installed or how bright they can be, provided the lights are properly shielded. Now I'll get into some of the proposed changes, and they're not really major. It's just, as I said, to make the bylaw clearer. So the committee, in consultation with the town council, drafted a revised bylaw that retains many of the major elements of the current bylaws, but makes it clearer. So these are the changes that are being proposed. First of all, currently there are two separate bylaws. There's a bylaw for private lighting, which is a zoning bylaw, and then there's a bylaw for public lighting in the general bylaws. This sometimes has been a source of confusion. Which one applies, who enforces it, that sort of thing. So we're proposing in the future that we have a single bylaw, and it would be a general bylaw covering both private and public lighting. This new bylaw would have the same goals that I just went through, and retains the same requirements for full shielding of lights. So that wouldn't change. The protection against light trespass. So currently that would be made more flexible and easier to implement. Currently that's taken care of by having the limit on height. So like if you have a light very close to the property line, there's a limit on how high that light can be. So not too much of the light goes to the neighboring property. But if limiting the height is not practical, there would be a second option now, which would make it easier to comply with. The second option would be to direct or shield the light so that the intensity of light at the property line is below a specified level. And that level, that could be easily measured with a light meter. So that provides flexibility to anybody who would be installing new lighting. Another addition would be that applications for building permits for future new construction would include specifications on any outdoor lighting that's included in the planned project. Presumably that usually happens anyway, but this would sort of make sure that that's some attention is paid to lighting as well as all the other elements of a new construction project. Another requirement is that, consistent with recent policy recommendations by the American Medical Association based on potential health effects of lighting at night, future lighting installations would have a color temperature no higher than 3,000 kelvins. This basically would avoid harsh blue light and its associated health issues and excessive glare. This policy has actually informally been followed by the town for several years now. For example, I'm also a member of the Energy Committee, and we've been involved in several energy conserving projects where new LED lights were installed at town buildings and schools. And all of these lights, and this also includes recently installed street lights, have been at the 3000 K color level or less. So basically it's more on the warm end rather than that harsh blue that you sometimes see in some locations. There's a new provision related to sports lighting projects that would actually make it more flexible in the current bylaw. So future sports lighting projects would follow up-to-date guidelines that ensure that the light falls on or near the playing field and not in the adjacent neighborhood. Recent innovations in lighting technology and available commercial lighting products make this practical to implement. So projects following these guidelines would not be subject to the remainder of the bylaw, but would follow this separate reference set of guidelines. The exceptions in the current bylaw would stay the same. That is, the regulations would not apply to lights below 900 or 1800 lumens. There would be exemptions for temporary emergency lighting, lights required for safety purposes, and so on. The new bylaw would be administered by the town administrator, the building commissioner, or a designee of either of those parties. Current lighting that conforms to the current bylaws would not have to comply with any new requirements until being replaced. So there's kind of what we used to call a grandfathering provision there. Finally, the revised bylaw includes illustrations of acceptable lighting, thus making it clear to town officials and all town residents what types of lights are acceptable to meet the goals of the bylaw. In my mind, this is probably the most useful part of the proposed amended bylaw. We didn't previously have those pictures, and they could be a great benefit to helping everybody understand what we're trying to do. So in summary, the revised bylaw has the same goals and would retain most of the elements of the current bylaws. However, the regulations would be consolidated into a single bylaw, and that would be clearer, more flexible, and easier to implement. That is
All right, and I appreciate all the work that you do for us. If we have residents that have questions in regards to this article, where would they point them to?
I mean, I'd be happy to, I could give my own email address or maybe
Whatever you feel is necessary.
Sure, I guess, feel free to contact me at mbrown.galaxy@yahoo.com.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm Veronica Kell. I'm on the bylaw review committee and also a trustee on the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust. Article 17 in the annual town meeting warrant is corrections to the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust bylaw. This article is to correct typographical errors that exist in the affordable housing bylaw that was accepted by the town at the 2023 annual meeting and approved by the Attorney General's office. The changes are as noted in the article. In one, it references section 48. The 48 should be 4B. In two, this is from section 140.14. The reference to section 5C should be a reference to section 55C. And the third error, well, typo, is in section 140.15. It references Article 7, Article 13, and Article 12, where it should be referencing Section 8, Section 14, and Section 13, respectively. And again, these corrections are merely to fix typos that are in the printed version of the article. It doesn't change whether or not the article is in place. That was established at the annual town meeting last year. So thank you very much.
In conjunction with the Board of Selectmen and collaboration with TCAM, we are going to present the articles both on the special town meeting and the annual town meeting here on videotape, only for the purposes of allowing the town to hear exactly what each article is about. There is, I basically will be talking about each article as opposed to reading it. We will be following along with a presentation that will be also presented in the annual and the special town meeting. The first thing I'll start off with is the special town meeting. And I'll read the following. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify the legal voters of the town of Townsend qualified to vote at town meetings for the transaction of town affairs, to meet at the Memorial Hall, Great Hall, 272 Main Street, Townsend, Mass, for the special town meeting on May 7th, 2024 at 7 o'clock. So this was posted by the constables, and we are ready to go. First off is the reports, Article 1. Article 1 is basically read in every special town meeting that we have, and it's a vote to hear the reports of boards or committees or the commissions, and it's usually if the townspeople would like to be able to hear the reports or be able to read it. The annual town report is available, will be available at that particular time as well. Article 2 is the first of the current fiscal year financial articles. Some are majority votes and some are 2/3 vote. Article 2 is to, in regards to the Townsend general insurance costs. We're not able to budget fully when we voted the budget in. So currently we need to, Article 2 asks for $12,457 to pay for the unbudgeted increases in the town's general insurance costs. Article 3, submitted by the Board of Selectmen, that is an article asking for $5,000 for funding a housing protocol for the Board of Health. What that is there are times that the Board of Health would have to look into ways for a residential condemnation to be able to not allow the towns or the resident of that particular house be able to go back into it. Currently, we don't have anything budgeted within the town. So what the Board of Health has asked the Board of Selectmen is to set aside an account with $5,000 so that if we do enter into a situation like that, we do have funds available to be able to do that. The reason why it's on a special town meeting as opposed to budgeted within the Board of Health is that these are usually one-time costs. It's not something that recurs. So if we had 5,000, that would give us, or it'd give the Board of Health ample ability to pay for what they needed to, and if they needed more money, then we would then fund it accordingly. It's again, not a year-to-year cost. Article 4, again submitted by the Board of Selectmen, is the town clerk's election budget. We're asking for $22,000 for supplementing the town clerk's election budget. What happens, or what has been happening with the town clerk, is that there have been some years where we have several elections, and other years that we only have one with the town election. That's hard for us to budget. So what we are asking for is if we put the $22,000 in, again, a separate line item account, we would not have to change the election budget for the town clerk each year. It would be able to do that. Once that particular fund runs down, then it would go into another special account to be able to fund it again. Again, this was a way in which we would be able to set a solid budget and know what the election budget will be each year, and what goes above and beyond if we have to add an election, that again would be coming out of this particular fund. Article 5 is to see if the town is going to do the same, set aside a separate account for $5,000 for the Conservation Commission. Conservation Commission, because of education, outreach, and training, they do not have enough money in their budget to be able to do that. And again, instead of adding to their yearly budget, we made a decision to have it on a special town meeting so that the $5,000 is on a separate account. They'll be able to run down that account, and if they need more money in that, then come back to the town at another special, again, rather than to put that money in their particular budget. It's not something that they're probably going to use every year, but more importantly, it is there for them when they need it, and they don't have to wait to go to another town meeting. Article 6, again, presented by the Board of Selectmen, is $1,000 for the Historic District Commission. Again, that is for training materials and supplies, and that includes signage. I've attended several meetings of the Historic District Commission, and with the work that we have going on in some of our historic buildings, they have been talking about getting signs that say you're entering a historic district. That takes a little bit of time to be able to prepare for that. It also takes a little bit of money. This, again, is on a separate account. It's not a recurring cost to the Historic District Commission, but what it will allow them to do is if they had a reciprocal grant, let's say, for signage, they'll be able to have that money available to them instead of waiting until the next town meeting to be able to get that. Article 7 is brought forward by the town clerk, and this is $5,000 for the purpose of paying workers' compensation in VFIS injured on-duty claims. This was something, again, that we set aside for a separate account. It's not on a recurring budget. Article 8 is asking for, this is for the Highway Department. They are asking for $6,000 for the purpose of paying for CDL training for Highway Department staff. Depending upon their employment cycle hits, they do have at certain times during the year, if they need somebody, they advertise to be able to get a new employee in. The new employee comes in and there is CDL training. Sometimes the individuals don't have the money to be able to do that, and we do need to have certain equipment at the highway department requires to have a CDL license. This allows the highway department to make some decisions on assisting the new employee to get the CDL license with this funding. Again, this is outside of the budget. This would be in a line item, and it's not a recurring charge every year. When it does happen, at least the highway department has the ability to be able to pay for this without having to go to town meeting again. Article 9 is this is for the bylaw review committee has asked the Board of Selectmen to hire or contract a consultant to come in and assist with the bylaw review. The amount asking for is $14,500. This figure will allow a consultant to work with the bylaw review committee to go through all of the bylaws in a more consistent basis, to be able to update and allow us to align our fees or make suggestions to the Board of Selectmen to align our fees to be comparable to other towns. The next one is Article 10. Article 10 is a one-time ask for the fire department. We did get a new fire department emergency vehicle. It's a smaller than sending out the larger $1 million truck. We need to be able to put in emergency vehicle equipment in that particular truck. Cost on that is $35,000. We had again suggested to put this as a separate line item in the special, as opposed to adding it to a recurring cost to the fire department. Article 11 is to see if the town will vote to transfer $159,541. This is our fiscal year 24 snow and ice deficit. I will say that we were doing really well in regards to snow and ice this year until the storm in April. That's why that figure is there. That's a figure that we had. We don't have the full amount. It'll be a little more than this, but we'll have the updated figure in the town meeting. Article 12 and Article 13, both articles are in reference to the Board of Health. This is the year that the Board of Health has been working with the trash and recycling contract. They are working with G.W. Shaw again after reaching out to several other organizations. Shaw and Sons have proposed, the contract is still under review. Nothing's been signed, but what they are asking for, what the Board of Health is asking for, is for the town to enter into a 5-year contract. The Board of Selectmen can only approve a 3-year contract. So this vote is only for whether or not the town would allow the town to enter into a 5-year contract for the trash. There are 2 articles. Article 12 is a 5-year contract to include toters, and toters are the specialized receptacles that will allow a truck to have a grabber to pick it up and dump it in without having individuals on the back of the trash truck. And Article 13 is without the toters. Without toters are just the receptacle, the garbage receptacle that will allow Shaw's to have somebody on the back of the truck to actually empty it into the truck. And again, both of those articles are it's only in regards to allowing the Board of Selectmen to enter into a 5-year contract. Article 14 is a zoning bylaw and adoptions. Article 14 is to change the zoning of the property depicted on Assessor's Map 6, Block 11, Lot 0. This is up on Greenville Road. This is a resident petition. This is not something that was submitted by the town. This is submitted by Sean S. Tachi and ADSD Realty LLC. And this is in reference to changing a plot of land that I just mentioned from an industrial zoned area to a residential zoned area. Article 15 starts off with the real property articles. Article 15 is in regards to a 50-year lease agreement with the Townsend Fire EMS Relief Association for the old Harbor Fire Station located on Main Street. This will allow the town to enter into a 50-year lease agreement with the Townsend Fire EMS Relief Association, who will be running a museum outside in that particular facility once it gets upgraded. The old Harbor Fire Station should be up and operable, I would say, by the end of the year. It looks like they're moving right along with that. But this again is just for an agreement to allow the town to enter into a 50-year lease agreement. Article 16 is the same, except for the property is the old Central Fire Station. So this is Article 16 is to allow the town to enter into a 50-year lease agreement with the Townsend Fire EMS Relief Association. And again, there will be that will be set up as a museum as well. Article 17 is in regards to property that's located on 182 Warren Road. This is map 31, block 36, lot 0. This is to allow the selectmen to convey fee simple or lesser interest in the land and or buildings herein known as 182 Warren Road. This will allow the Board of Selectmen. There are several options that the Board of Selectmen that we're looking into, and this will allow the town to allow the Board of Selectmen to be able to find out what the best interests or the interests of the town to execute any agreement with that particular land, whether it be for sale or transfer. And that ends the special town meeting. If there is any questions in regards to any of those, we've posted a lot of information on the town's website. And we have also added links to any other information that you might be interested in. If you still have questions, you can always call the town administrator, and the town administrators or the selectman's office should be able to answer any questions. Next would be our annual town meeting. And again, this is just presenting and describing what each article is. So if you can follow along with me on the PowerPoint presentation. Article 1 is to allow the Board of Selectmen to appoint all town officers. This is typical as the first article in pretty much every annual town meeting we have. This will allow the selectmen to be able to appoint the town officers when necessary. Article 2 is to accept any reports from any committees, boards, or commissions, just like in our special, and the town will vote on whether or not they want to be able to do that or not. Article 3 starts off the revolving fund articles. The revolving funds are for the departments that do carry a limit or a revolving fund. This actually will, the vote is for the amounts that are in each revolving fund, whether it be recycling, recreation, facilities, cemetery, animal care, the fire, police, conservation. There are several revolving funds for the police department. There's firearms licensing, public records requests, and there are cruiser fees also for the police department. Details are on the warrant that's on the webpage, so you can look at that. Article 4 is the fiscal year 25 operating budget. That is broken down into the functional segments and then the omnibus. Omnibus is the full budget. And I'm not going to go into any great detail with that. That is something that you would need to be able to do on your own. I know this budget, we are currently working on several facets of it. And this is something that's always it changes rapidly on a day-to-day basis, depending upon what information that we get. Gathering the information, we are working with the state, we are working with local, and we're also still negotiating with contracts. So understand that with the majority of the budget that the town has put in for the town departments, we may have to make some changes depending upon where some of the other segments come in, i.e. the school. As I said, the trash contract is also still being under negotiation. So there's still a lot of work that we're working on. Article 5 is a majority vote, and this is to transfer any free cash to balance the budget for the fiscal year 2025. So if that is basically there, so once we make any amendments or we go through the budget and there needs to be additional cash to balance out the budget, that is there as a precaution, or not a precaution, but more of a buffer to be able to, anything that's over what we don't have here, we can use that, use money out of free cash if we need to. It provides for a funding source to balance the budget. Article 6, this is always on there. This is legally required to set the town clerk's budgetary salary. This is on there every year. Article 7 starts off our water enterprise department budget. As you know, there's been a lot of changes and additions with the water department. The article is looking to appropriate $2,062,174 to take out of the water enterprise fund to be able to put in the operational fund for the water department. And it looks like 381,651 of this is for their general fund. So this is to be able to, for them to fund their budget for fiscal year 2025. The next article that we have would be the Capital Planning Committee. This is the annual article submitted by the Capital Planning Committee and recommended by the Capital Planning Committee. It lists all of the capital projects or items being proposed for fiscal year 25, funded from borrowing or requiring a 2/3 vote. This is, I know that they looked at this quite heavily, and there was a lot of things that were on the capital plan, and they've narrowed it down to police, energy, and the highway department. And again, that is all on the warrant that's on the town webpage. Article 9 starts off our general financial articles. Article 9 is so-called prudent investor rule. This is something that this is on almost every town warrant articles this year. The prudent investor rule basically will allow the town to invest money for any trust that they have set up, or for instance, if they know it's being funded by, let's say, a lawsuit or any funds coming into a particular department in the town would be able to put it in an interest-bearing account, and that allows the town to be able to gain interest on any monies that is in there that goes into that account. The article is a local acceptance provision that allows investments in accordance with the so-called prudent investor rule, which is General Law Chapter 203C, which essentially allows for a broader range of investments than what would otherwise be allowed for investments in savings banks. Savings banks don't really have a high yield, and this allows the town to be able to put funds into something to get a higher yield. Article 10. Article 10 is again another article that is recurring. This is in regards to the PEG access receipts reserved account, and that is to allow the town to take it from the PEG access receipts reserved account and hand it over to TCAM, which they then will defray their operating costs. This looks like we have had $87,708.21 for the first and second quarters of fiscal year 24. And that is, this vote will allow us to be able to transfer that over. The article will appropriate and permit expenditure of current Comcast cable revenue sharing funds in the PEG Access Receipts Reserved account for the purpose of continuing funding of the production of the broadcast of public, educational, and government access television by the nonprofit Cable Access Corporation, TCAM, which is Townsend Community Access Media, pursuant to the grant agreement between the town and Comcast. And again, they are providing us the ability to have this particular program on there so that the town is aware of what's going on in the town meeting. Article 11 is, this is a vote for $5,000 to provide funding for the town's 300th anniversary celebration. We have been submitting $5,000 a year per a town vote. This will be the 300th anniversary celebration to be held in the year 2032. So this is, again, a yearly article that goes in. Article 12, this is an article to fund the assessor's fiscal year 25 504 valuations, periodic inspections, and property data verification program. It's mandated by the Mass Department of Revenue. So in essence, what it means by mandated is that we have to do it. That's an $8,000 funding ask for fiscal year 25. And again, that's going to the periodic inspections and property data verification program. Article 13 starts off our general business, general bylaws and adoptions. This was asked by the Council on Aging. They asked the Select Board to put this on the article. This article will adjust the Council on Aging's terms from 4 years to 3 years. Each member holds a position on the Council on Aging, and it is currently a 4-year, and they have asked for us to place this on there for the town to vote to drop that to a 3-year. Article 14 is in regards to fees under the scenic roads and bylaw. This is will amend the scenic roads bylaw to reflect the fees being located in the fee table as opposed to the bylaw itself. So they're adding a fee table. The planning board is adding a fee table within their bylaws to make things easier to look up. So they're taking their fees out of the actual written bylaw itself and putting it into a fee schedule so that when they make future changes, those changes can be done to the fee schedule instead of having to affect each warrant article. Article 15 is a noise control bylaw. I want to jump down to the actual description of this because it's a lengthy and I'm not going to read the whole thing. But the full warrant article is again going to be on the website. The article is to create a mechanism for noise bylaw, for a noise bylaw in town. So basically what the bylaw review committee has done is added a mechanism for any noise bylaw that's within the town. And again, this is something that the bylaw review committee has submitted. Article 16, this is a new general bylaw for outdoor lighting. This was, I know that there had been some comments in regards to the lighting bylaw. This particular article, and again, it is lengthy, the article will amend the outdoor lighting bylaw in town. So again, if you have any questions in regards to that particular warrant article, that will be on the website. Article 17 is in regards to corrections to the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust bylaw. When that bylaw was written, there has been some changes in general law in some of the chapters and subsections that need to be updated. There's also replacing sections for instance, there are certain areas where it was naming another area, and some of those are incorrect now, so they've changed that. But the article will amend various portions of the Affordable Housing Trust bylaw so that they're in compliance. Article 18 is a zoning bylaw and adoption. This is amendments to the regulation of accessory apartments here in town. This particular warrant article will amend various portions of the accessory apartment bylaw that is currently on the books. Again, this is cleaning up some of the verbiage, and it also is the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities is a new name for an executive office for the state, so that they're in compliance with that. It used to be DHCD, now it's EOHLC. So that's that. Article 19. Article 19 basically changes the fees for large-scale ground-mounted solar installations. This one came to us from the planning board. The article will amend the ground-mounted solar bylaw to reflect the fee being located in the fee table as opposed to the bylaw itself. Again, as I explained, the planning board has decided to have a fee table instead of having each fee in each bylaw to make it easy so that future changes are relatively easy for the planning board. Article 20 is it's actually a deletion of outdoor lighting provisions in the zoning bylaw. This basically, the article will delete the outdoor lighting provisions that are currently located within the zoning bylaw. So the outdoor lighting provisions that are currently located in the zoning bylaws, they're asking to delete it. My understanding is they're probably working on that, and right now, if they delete that, then they'll have a fresh slate to start off with. So that is Article 20, and that is the final article on the annual town meeting. So again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to, you may call Town Hall in regards to that. The Selectman's Office, Town Administrator will take your phone calls. And I hope to see everybody on the 7th. The Board of Selectmen will be meeting on the 6th at 11 o'clock in the morning. That meeting will be live on Channel 9. It'll also be on YouTube afterwards. This is where the Board of Selectmen will be finalizing as much as we can. We also have a meeting just before the town meeting. That meeting will basically finalize all the numbers that we have, and then we will go directly from our meeting into both the special and the annual town meeting here at Town Hall. So I thank you very much for your time, and I hope this was helpful. Please feel free again to give us a call and let us know if this was helpful or not. I personally want to thank TCAM and everybody associated with TCAM to allow us to be able to get this information out to the public. And you all have a good day. Thank you.